Welcome to the breakfast show on Faith FM with Skafy and friends. This is the best place to start your day with positive and uplifting thoughts. You're listening across Australia on 87.6, 87.8 or 88, depending on where you are. You can also listen to us through our Faith FM app. And today, if you're listening live, it's Friday the 20th of February. I'm in the studio here with the great Dan. Good morning to you, Dan.
Good morning.
And we have producer Sandy at the desk. Good morning to you, Sandy.
Good morning.
Let's start our show with our exchange of gratitude. I am grateful for cockroach poisons today.
That is a very good thing to be thankful for.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, talk about the ones
The
that
little
like
squares that
the
you
little
put under the
squares
fridge.
that,
Yeah.
that come
Yep.
like in a little bait. I was we have a bit of an old caravan, our family, and I opened it up. It hasn't been used in a while.
Oh, no.
And I was opening the cupboard just to see what was there, you know, and said, hey, man, I didn't remember, you know, storing so many things here. But turns out that there's a lot of cockroaches wobbling around.
Oh.
So I bought, you know, a box of one of these cockroach bait
Yeah.
stations, and I'm chucking it there, and I'm really hoping and praying that in a week from now,
It'll all be good.
they're all going to
Yeah.
be gone, because I could not imagine myself just trying to sleep at night. Because we say this to our kids, right? When they don't brush their teeth before going to bed, I say, hey, if you don't brush your teeth going to bed, there might be a cockroach
Oh, no.
coming into your mouth at night, and she's going to be wanting to lick your teeth.
It's coming back to haunt you, Scott.
And the kids just like, they immediately, I remember one time my son was sleeping and he didn't want to brush his teeth. I said, okay, that's all fine. Just don't be alarmed if a cockroach comes to lick your mouth at night. And this is something that every Brazilian mother tells their son or father. And like 20 seconds later, he just like woke up by himself and went there. And I told him, look, there might be the chance. It's most likely that some microbes that look like very, very, very tiny cockroaches do the job. But you never know, so it's better to brush your teeth.
It's never one I've used as a parent.
What about you, Dan? What are you grateful for today?
I was just thinking, what? Too bad if a cockroach comes into their mouth and they have brushed their teeth, and then you can't use that ever again.
Yes, but I said, look, at least you reduced your chances. You know, this is how I'll open to them the book of Ecclesiastes and say, the race is not always to the swiftest. The fight is not always to the strongest. And a mouth free of cockroach is not always for the cleanest of teeth. So the randomness of life. This is a tough lesson to learn.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm thankful for. I'm going to say something slightly controversial as well.
All right.
Look, you know, cockroach, and that's maybe not so controversial. That's a bit gross, but anyway, thankful for the absence of cockroaches is a good thing. I'm thankful for AI.
Okay. I'm thankful for AI.
It brings a lot of
as well,
a lot of risk and a lot of laziness.
Okay.
But it actually has helped me to frame my arguments. I've learned something about using AI to make arguments.
Oh, I want to learn.
And that is, you don't rely on it to actually make the argument, because you can make AI argue for whatever case you want.
Yeah.
You rely, but I've found it useful, and it's, you know, there's probably a risk of me becoming lazy because of this, but I found it useful to help frame an argument more effectively.
Yeah, right. I actually like it. This is actually a good use. Actually, you can actually use AI and say, hey, now find the flaws with my argument.
Yeah,
and you can
yeah.
actually learn from that as well. So AI is a tool. Depends on how you use it. I think that you can definitely use it for good. But you know, just hoping that they're not going to persecute us when they become fully humanoid robots.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
And what about you, producer Sandy? We skipped you. Do you have any gratitude for today?
I do. I am thankful for my family who help pull their weight during the week with my busy work and
Nice.
my husband's busy work, and we have a system where everybody cooks a meal each during the week, and that leaves just the weekends for me. So
that's great.
yeah,
And
so-
what are you going to be cooking?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I'll have to pull up
All
some
right.
recipes.
What's some of your favorite things that what is your go-to recipe? If you're like completely out of imagination, you just need to do something, you open up the pantry, what's the most likely thing that will come out of it? Like just the simplest go-to meal.
Usually maybe
you.
some soup and
Okay.
toasted sandwiches.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's just a quick and easy one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Love a good toasty, especially when they are cut into triangles.
Yes.
So cozy. Yeah. All right.
If it's rectangle, it's not as good. It has to be a triangle.
No, it's not.
Yeah, rectangles are nice as well. Just, every now and then. But the triangle is the
Triangle,
classic.
yeah.
All right, Bruce or Shandy, speaking about, cooking something, what are you cooking in terms of Bible quiz
Yes.
questions for us?
Okay, so a Bible or not to start our morning. Surely oppression makes a wise man mad. Bible or not, surely oppression makes a wise man mad.
50-50.
Tell us whether you think this is from the Bible or not on 0491064669. Skafy and Daniel, what do you guys
Look,
think?
I'll say this. I do not know
Okay, and
if that's the right one or not.
you're both incorrect.
Ah,
So, listeners, surely oppression makes a wise man mad. Is that from the Bible or not?
well,
Tell
do we
us
get a
what you
second
think.
chance?
On 0491064669. Tell us what you think.
All right. Well, I won't say anything because if anything that I can say will probably tip too much, and we'll kill the joy of trying to figure it out. But I'll say something after that. After when we are talking about the answer to the quiz question. Well, thank you so much, Producer Sandy. So 0491064669 is the number. So play along with us, radio friend. Is it Bible or not? Surely oppression makes a man mad. Well, we all know this is true. The question is it in the Bible or is it not in the Bible? A lot of biblical phrases, they're not necessarily in the Bible. So, I won't say anything. I want to see what you think, radio friend. And now, then, it's time for us to open our Bibles here and see what it says. We're reading through the story of Joseph. And I believe we skipped the part then that you sob in tears.
We skipped
Joseph
it.
revealing himself to his brothers, Judah.
How could you skip it?
You were not here, my friend, unfortunately, and I didn't want to wake you up at like 6 a.m. That being said, we are going to look at the aftermath of that story. So basically, Joseph is, is sending message to his father Jacob to say, "Hey, come live in Egypt." And, we have a place for you. Pharaoh said that he can give you the best of the land, that he's very grateful. I'm like a father to Pharaoh, according to, Joseph was. So let's pick up from verse 25.
This is
Genesis 45, 25.
25. Then they went up out of Egypt and came to the land of Canaan to Jacob their father. And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart stood still, because he did not believe them. But when they told him all the words which Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. Then Israel said, It is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die.
Yeah, let's talk about that one. Just one thing that I'm going to ask you then, if you're going to align your microphone with your computer, so you can, this radio microphone's radio friend, for those who don't know, you kind of have to speak directly through, like, its mouth, otherwise the sound gets a little bit...
You know what? All of my equipment this morning is working against me.
Is working against you?
I haven't got the...
And that's because you were grateful to the AI, but it's not repaying your kindness with love, apparently. Then of all of these, 3 Bible verses that we read so far, is there anything that stands out to you? Because there's something that stands out to me here, but I wanted to hear from you first.
Jacob, for me, my heart is warmed to know, to just think of how for so long Jacob had been without his favorite son, and hopefully by now he doesn't have favorites anymore. And so he missed that, that huge chunk of the drama and the emotion that we've all just been through over the last little while, with the brothers and so forth. And I mean, he saw it from their point of view of the governor being a crazy man. So all of a sudden he's filled in right at the last minute. He's made it. He's lasted that long. He's still alive, and now he's like, okay, I'm gonna see my boy before I die. It's a beautiful and yet sad picture of a father, and his separation from his son.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. I think that's definitely a good point. To me, there's a couple of things that stand out. First, there's this theme that is really cool. I think that, I do not know if anybody preached a sermon like that, but hey, there's a tip there if you'd like to preach, radio friend. I'm going to give you a tip for what would be a really interesting sermon. The book of Genesis plays a lot with that idea of Jacob and Israel. Sometimes it calls Jacob Jacob, sometimes it calls Jacob Israel. And in the same chapter, actually, in this case, Jacob is being referred to as Jacob in verse 25, verse 28. Then Israel said,
yeah,
of course they're the same person. But one of the things that I noticed, have you ever noticed anything when the Bible talks about Jacob/Israel? I don't know. Have you ever paid attention to that detail?
I'm gonna guess that the meaning of the name is significant as to why it's used in that context.
I think significant. Every time that Jacob is kind of acting according to the flesh, so to speak, he's behaving like any ordinary human being. Faith is not a thing. He's referred to as Jacob. Every time that he is giving a response of faith, his name appears to be Israel.
You're right.
When we go to the book of Revelation, one of the promises that Jesus makes to one of the churches, and these promises they spill over for all of us believers, is that when we get to heaven, when we get to the kingdom of God, one of the promises that Jesus said is that for those who overcome, I am going to give him a new name. Do you remember that passage?
Right. Yes, yeah.
And I'm thinking here, wow, a new name. So when we have faith and when we are responding to the good news of the gospel, it's kind of like God not only looks at us as different people, not only looks at us as different human beings from the rest of human beings that do not have faith or that are trapped in the darkness of sin, the darkness of this world, but he's kind of saying, look, he's even given them a new name. And that new name is a name based in their experience with God. So, for example, Israel had a literal fight, a literal struggle, literal bout with Jesus. And he says, your name is going to be Israel because you fought against God and you prevailed, which is quite imagine if God says, hey, Dan, you're actually fighting with me. You know what? You won. Therefore, I'm going to call you Israel. So this is something that I find interesting. But what I find even more interesting in this passage is the exact words that Israel said. His sons came to him and says, Dad, you won't believe. Number one, we're back. Number two, we have all the food that we need. Number three, Benjamin's alive. Nothing happened to him, so you can rest. Number four, Joseph, your son, is alive. Number five, he's not only alive, he became like the prime minister of Egypt. And look at all these chariots, all of this wealth, all of this, splendor. And Israel kind of said, look, enough. Stop talking. My son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. So of all of this good news, the only one thing that he could concentrate is say, look, you know what? To me, all of these chariots, all of this food, all of this great news, we're going to move to Egypt. We're going to receive a green card to live in Egypt, a full Egyptian permanent residency for like 400 years. You know what? That doesn't matter to me at all. The only thing that matters is that my son Joseph is still alive. And I think that this can spill over to Jesus. I can see the gospel here. Because for us, we can be receiving all sorts of news. Good news even. Dan, you just won the lottery. Here, $2 billion to your account. Hey, so we receive all kinds of news throughout our lives. They fluctuate. Sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're really bad. Sometimes they're neutral. Sometimes they're in between. But I want to have the same attitude of Jacob, of Israel in this case, and kind of say, you know what, enough, all good. But to me, what matters is that Jesus is alive.
Yeah.
I will, and I want to go and see him before I die. Meaning, I want to experience and see his glory before I die. Because when I die, well, then we will have eternity to spend with him. But for me, right now in this life, the most important thing, irrespective from all the other news, is that Jesus is alive, and I can go and see him today.
Yeah, right. Yeah, nice.
Isn't that a nice little phrase that's there?
Yeah, beautiful.
All right, let's move on to chapter 46.
All right.
Just verse 1. And let's go on. I'll stop you if I find anything worthy for us to discuss.
So Israel took his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Then God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, here I am.
Yeah, let's just pause here for just 1 second before we go. Why did he offer a sacrifice to God in Beersheba? Do you know what Beersheba, what is kind of famous for?
Remind me.
Beersheba is a border town. It's kind of right at the limits of what would then become the land of Israel. So I think it's Beersheba. They say that there's this expression from Dan to Beersheba.
It's the southern.
It's the southern end.
Yep.
So it's kind of like leaving the borders, the frontiers. It's kind of like, when you're, I do not know, if you're crossing from New South Wales into Queensland, and let's say that you're going to be moving into Queensland now.
Yeah.
God has something for you in Queensland, going to be moving there. So you stop right at the border, right there in Coolangatta. And you stop with your family, you park your car, you offer a prayer of thanksgiving to God at that place. It's just to mark. And I think that he offered a sacrifice, and sacrifices, I find it fascinating why and when the patriarchs offered sacrifices, because it appears like they offered sacrifices to God at various times, and this was before there was a temple. So I like that how here, why do you think that he was offering the sacrifice? What was marking that occasion?
Certainly, there's significant events and developments in his life. His son being alive, and the realization of what that means in terms of the brothers. And I don't know how much of this story they'd revealed by this stage, but I think he's probably processing the family dynamics and feeling like there needs to be some reconciliation, or maybe atonement, or forgiveness,
I would say that this is probably a Thanksgiving sacrifice.
Yeah.
When I read this, I think that he's like closing a chapter of his life and saying, you know what, we're closing a chapter, moving on. But the last thing that I have to do before I close the chapter is to say thank you to God.
Yep, fair. Yep.
For what came before.
I'm also looking at the address that God gave to him, saying Jacob, Jacob.
Yeah.
So there's something in his approach that needs to be
corrected,
addressed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's read that. Let's see what happens here. Verse 2.
And it's significant, not like building on what you said earlier. It's not just significant that it's Jacob and not Israel, but that he's saying the name twice. And whenever God says someone's name twice,
yes, you're kind of in trouble. Not a bad kind of trouble, but yeah.
Hey, pay attention.
Pay attention. Hey, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what?
There's something,
how did you learn that?
There's something that, not always wrong, but it's something that I need to correct. Like,
yeah.
build your understanding about something.
Yeah. You know what? I actually, I'm wondering if we saw the same sermon. I listened to a sermon many years ago.
I'm going to guess by David Asher.
Maybe we were in the same place. I think we were there.
Probably had the same sermon.
That was the first time. I never seen anybody preaching since, but it really opened my eyes. Every time that God calls someone's name twice, is he's trying to kind of tweak something in their understanding.
Yes. Yeah,
like Jesus saying to Martha, Martha, Martha.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, you're doing great things, you're serving, but your sister Mary chose the most important part, which is to sit still and learn from me.
Yeah.
That's more important, because what's the point of serving if you don't have understanding?
Yeah.
Then with the Apostle Paul as well. Saul.
Yes.
Why are you persecuting me? So you think you're doing something really good in that you are being zealous for my name, for the church, but hey, you're actually it's backfiring. You're actually persecuting me. You're actually,
Yeah.
don't do this. So I'm really keen to see what is going to come after the Jacob.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
Mr. Sandy will now reveal to us if her statement was in the Bible or not. So what's the verdict, Sandy?
Surely oppression makes a wise man mad is from Ecclesiastes 7 verse 7.
I'm going to lodge a protest. It's not in my version of the Bible.
So this is the thing.
Thank you to Sherry, Vernon, and David who sent answers in. Brian
Yes.
Earl,
Oh,
this
well
morning.
done.
Great
Thank you,
to have
friends.
some
Well done.
listening, yeah.
You did.
Why did you think that it was not in the Bible?
To be honest, the fact that my only reasoning was I can't think of the actual verse. So
Yeah.
I'm going to err on the side of no, but it sounds like it could be a proverb.
Yeah.
So
look,
that was my
I
thinking.
had the exact same thought process that you had.
I think for
Exact
me,
same.
even though I've got the answer right here, just the fact that it was oppression makes a wise man mad would have made me go,
Oh,
that
yes.
be a wise man.
Because you
wouldn't
could
go
think
mad
that
from
a wise
oppression.
man would never go
Yeah,
mad.
so to
But that's
me,
definitely not the
yeah,
case, apparently.
that would have
Well,
been a trick.
Yeah, and I guess a wise man, if he was oppressed himself, ideally wouldn't be going mad. But if it's a wise man observing oppression, getting righteous
Yeah.
anger, maybe.
Yeah.
Righteous anger.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one.
All right. Our second question. What 3 New Testament authors attended the council at Jerusalem that is mentioned in Acts 15? What 3 New Testament authors attended the council at Jerusalem in Acts 15?
Oh, this-
0491064669 to send us your answers. And we got Skafy and Dan here just thinking. So you're out by one of them, Skafy. And so are you, Daniel.
Did we both write the same 3 names?
Yes. What 3 New Testament authors attended the council at Jerusalem in Acts 15? 0491064669. Let us know.
What about that now?
Okay, I think I've got it.
Yes, that looks right. Just different order, so I'm having to look back. But yes, they're both correct now.
Okay.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, it totally makes sense.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. Acts 15.
We'll talk about it
Acts 15.
later.
Yeah.
But if you do know the answer to that one, which 3 New Testament authors attended the Jerusalem Council, or at least explicitly are mentioned in the Jerusalem Council? Because there's one of them that he might have been there, but probably was not the case. I do not know. Well, if you do know the answer to that one, or if you want to have a go, 0491 064 669.
We would love to hear from you.
Okay, Daniel, what is it that God is calling Jacob twice by his name? Jacob. Let's see what God says to him, because
let's
it
read
will be relevant. Can you read it for us? So
Genesis 46 and keep
Verse
on going
3.
in verse 3. So he said, I am God, the God of your father. Do not fear to go down to Egypt, for I will make of you a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will surely bring you up again, and Joseph will put his hand on your eyes. Then Jacob arose from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little ones, and their wives in the carts which Pharaoh had sent to carry him.
okay, let's just pause here for a moment. So what did God say to Jacob that would warrant this? Jacob.
It's not immediately obvious on first reading as to what it is that Jacob's got wrong, or that Jacob isn't understanding.
Yeah.
But I think that God is giving. There's some reassurance there. Yes, your son Joseph really is alive, and you'll see him. But also, he's reassuring him this is all part of the plan. It's not like there's something mysterious. It's not like it's something dangerous, or I don't know what the right word is, but it's not something untoward that's about to happen, or it's
not some kind of fail
yeah
to the plan. It's not some kind of I'm wrecking God's plan.
yeah right
I love that. I definitely, my thoughts were in the same direction.
There's probably something else that I've missed though.
Look, I think he was afraid. This is why God said, don't be afraid to go to Egypt. he's selling everything. And look, God had given that land of Canaan to his father Abraham. Abraham purchased vast areas of that land. Isaac continued. Then Jacob. And I think that Jacob also had a bit of a trauma there because Jacob had to kind of leave the land once when he was fleeing from his brother Esau. I think that was also bringing some traumas, being on the road and taking everything. So I think that the first thing God wanted to tell him, say, hey, relax. I'm with you. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing, for I will make you a great nation there. And I think that Jacob would be thinking, like, how is God going to fulfill that plan of making us? God had promised to Abraham that he was going to give us a land and he was going to make us, a nation. But if I'm not in the land, how is God going to fulfill that? If we're going to Egypt, certainly God didn't give us Egypt. So God is also saying, hey, did I promise you something? Even though it might look like that something is not coming about, it will come about. So don't worry about that. You're not ruining my plan here. Particularly because I think that Jacob had already also a history here of trying to accomplish God's plans by his own devices, and it backfired spectacularly when he was trying to impersonate his brother. Yeah. So God is saying, hey, look, no worries. This is me doing it. It's all going to be good, and my plan is still going to be fulfilled. And then on verse 4, God preempts another objection, I believe, that could be going to Jacob's mind. Jacob would be thinking, okay, we're going to Egypt. Man, Egypt is the land of all the foreign crazy gods. I mean, the other day God was taking us out of Egypt, and we're going back there?
Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake. God will take them out of Egypt in the future. The future. Yeah. But again, like Egypt is the land of, many gods and everything. And God said, look, I will go down with you to Egypt. Because Jacob could be wondering, like, is God going to come down to us, like to Egypt of all places? And God said, yeah, I'm going to go down with you. And I'm also going to bring you up again. And Joseph will close your eyes. Now, of all the promises that God is saying here, I will surely bring you up again. That wasn't really fulfilled in Jacob's life.
Right.
It was fulfilled in his death.
Was Jacob's bones brought out?
This was,
was it
Joseph's bones.
So where was Jacob's? Oh, he was buried back with his fathers at the time, wasn't he?
Yes, I think when he was buried.
Got leave from Pharaoh to go. Yeah. So we're not there yet.
He was buried, so he came back to the land. And this is the thing that we don't really understand. Like maybe you, because you're a farmer. So you have a connection to the land that most of us don't have. But for these Middle Eastern people, like the connection to the land is something like it was so sacred. It was such a big part. For us, like, oh yes, we're living in this house and then we're moving to another property, selling this house. I mean, in the Middle East, it's almost unheard of anyone selling a property. It's something extremely rare. There is even an interesting example I'll give you. In the Middle East, if you're selling land, means that you're desperate, you're bankrupt.
Yeah, right.
And it's not just they don't see this as just a commercial transaction, that you're buying and selling. So much so that there was a story that happened with the Adventist church in Lebanon a few years back, maybe 10 years ago. So the Adventist church, they own a very beautiful plot of land in Beirut. They have a university there. It's called the Middle Eastern Adventist University. It was just this massive, massive area. And the church they wanted to expand the campus. They wanted to make some investments, and they were looking for funding. And they said, look, we have such a massive area. We're not even using it. So what are we going to do? Well, let's just sell portions of it. And then we can use that money to fund and to build the university bigger and better and, have more students and offer scholarships and all these kinds of things. From our perspective here in Australia, it's like, yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. Like just sell a plot of land and, let's use the money to do something else. To the Lebanese community out there, when they heard that the Adventist church was selling their land, the rumors that spread throughout the whole country is that the Adventist church is going bankrupt. Why else would you sell a land?
Yeah, right.
Unless you're absolutely desperate. Because for them, it's like, what? Because when you have a land, we're talking about a portion of the world where people have been inhabiting for thousands of years. If you have a land that you're buying today, this land is supposed to stay within your family for the next 2,000 years.
Yeah, right.
For all of your descendants, and you're like getting rid of that. Land is the most precious asset. The other thing is that here in Australia, land is so available. We live in such a big country. In the Middle East, everything is so tiny. And, there's borders here and there, and there's disputes. So land is something absolutely precious. Food was scarce. So I think that Jacob was really worried, like, wow, but am I never going to see that land again? Am I never going to be back again? And God was kind of saying to him, hey, you will be back up here. Now, we don't know if he eventually came for a holiday just to see the land or back. The Bible doesn't say, but he was definitely buried there. And then finally, the last thing that God says to Jacob is that, and Joseph will close your eyes. What do you think he meant by that?
My version says Joseph will put his hand on your eyes. Joseph will be there at your death. Like Joseph will outlive you. And he will, you will be with your family as you're dying. Yeah. Your death will be as you would like it to be.
Yeah. You're not going to experience that again, because I think that Jacob was wondering, like, can I survive? What if something happens to Joseph?
Yeah, right.
I can't imagine losing my son twice.
Yeah.
And God says, hey, don't worry. I'm going to protect your son. And I think, can you see the gospel here as well in that address from God to Jacob? Can you see like glimpses of the gospel here somewhere?
Yeah. I mean, God is the great provider and he is the one giving us more than we deserve. And but share with me what you're seeing. Yeah,
look, I think that what God said to Jacob, he could be saying to us as believers today, based in Jesus. So, for example, Daniel, let's say that God has called you to a different season of ministry in your life. He can say to you, Daniel, do not be afraid of going to ... Let's say you're going to, I don't know, Melbourne. Do not be afraid of going to Melbourne. Probably God is not going to make you a great nation there, but he says, look, but you are going to build my kingdom there. You're going to help the nation of God to grow. I will go down to you to Melbourne, and I'll surely bring you up again. So all of these things that you're missing here, so, you know what? You're going to have that. I'm going to save that for you. You're not going to be really losing anything. And Jesus will close your eyes in that, like, you know what? You don't need to worry. I'm going to be with you. And let's say that if you're old and you're wondering, am I going to die alone? Am I, what's going to happen to me? So, you know what? Jesus will be with you right by your side.
Yeah, right.
So I think that this is something, particularly for people that are experiencing a season of change and they are worried about what they're going to lose. And are we going to be successful or happy or fulfilled in that next season of life? Just going down and rereading what God promised to Jacob, I think we can really apply that to our own lives to soothe our own hearts and say, wow, I think that God is covering all bases here. He's saying, look, all that I am afraid to lose, God is saying, hey, I'm just saving for you. I'm storing for later. Don't worry. You're going to get that. Perhaps not necessarily in this life, perhaps in this life, but certainly when the kingdom of God comes, we're going to have all the time to enjoy all of these things. So whenever God is asking us to let something behind so that we can follow him, we're not really losing it. God is just storing it for later. I think that it's a nice thing to think about it in this way.
And you're also connecting Joseph with Jesus.
Yeah, I'm connecting Joseph to Jesus here because
I'm sure you've been building this up over the last few
yes.
meetings. But remind us why is Joseph a symbol of Jesus? You know what?
Actually, we could do a whole segment on that. But there's a lot of similarities here between Joseph and Jesus. So, for example, let me just get some of the more obvious ones. Joseph was the righteous one among unrighteous brethren.
Yeah.
And in the same way, Jesus was the only righteous human being among an unrighteous human race. Joseph was falsely accused and persecuted and killed by his, and by his own brothers.
Yeah, right.
Jesus was also falsely accused and killed by his own brothers and sisters, because the Bible tells that
Yeah.
Jesus calls himself our brother
Yeah,
as well.
right. Yeah.
We see then Jesus becomes the second in charge, so to speak. Jesus is also second in charge, not because he's lesser than the Father, but just because in the heavenly hierarchy, you need to have one leader, otherwise you have chaos, confusion. God wanted to model that. So Jesus is also sitting at the right hand of the Father. He's now the ruler. Joseph, everybody thought that Joseph was dead. Everybody thought that Jesus was dead, and then he came back to life. Joseph also came back to life. So there's a lot of similarities here between Joseph and Jesus.
And,
so
yeah,
Joseph is
Joseph-
a type of Jesus.
Joseph-
He's saving the world. Jesus
Yeah,
saved
right.
the world.
And Joseph was made a slave. Jesus was made
Yeah.
a servant to
Yeah.
us all, like, a real condescension.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Joseph was tempted,
Yes.
and he prevailed
Yeah.
because he didn't want to commit a sin against God. While Jesus was also tempted
Yes.
by Satan. Joseph was tempted by the wife of Potiphar. Jesus was tempted by Satan himself, and he also prevailed in his temptation. So you can see here that there's a lot of parallels between the story of Joseph and Jesus. So when I'm reading here and when God says, hey, Joseph will close your eyes, I think it's also very comforting to think that Jesus is going to be with us even to the end of the earth. He says in Matthew chapter 28, behold, I'm with you even to the ends of the world. But it also means not only the physical ends, but the timely end. Jesus saying, I'm going to be with you till your very last breath. You don't need to worry. I'm going to be that ever-present, comforting presence in your life. And because of that, you don't need to worry. This is what Psalm 23 says.
Yeah.
Even if I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil,
For you are with me.
for you are with me.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
And I really enjoyed, Daniel, that passage in the Bible where God is bringing comfort to Jacob when he was distressed because he was anxious about the future. He was uncertain about the future. And I really love how God really covered all the bases here. And I'm definitely going to be going back to that passage the next time that I'm feeling anxious about a new change in my life. Because changes will come. That's part of life. It's part of the rhythms of life. And if you'd like for me to write you and to send you a devotional based on our Bible study today, radio friend, please do send me a text message here to 0491 064669 #devotion, and I can share that devotion with you. Otherwise, if you'd like to get a copy of the book Patriarchs and Prophets, so you can learn more, you can also send you a link for the audio version of that book. You can text me here with #beginnings to 0491 064669. Let's get the answer to the quiz question, please, Producer Sandy.
The three New Testament authors who attended the council at Jerusalem in Acts 15 were Paul, Peter, and James.
Paul, Peter, and James. Yes. I initially wrote Paul, Peter, James, and John.
That's
Yes.
exactly the same as
Yes.
what I wrote.
Because I remember Peter being there. I remember James being the chairman of that meeting.
Yeah, right.
And I thought, surely John was there. I mean, all the disciples were there.
Yeah, and
It's
and
three
Peter
names
James-
that go together.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
And
three
that-
names
And they
that
go together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's so, I think that's why my brain went there without really having a second thought. But when you said no, one of those names is wrong. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that John is probably not mentioned there, even though he
Yeah.
might have been there. But Paul is mentioned. Actually, the whole Council of
Yes.
Jerusalem was stirred up by the reports of Paul. Paul was giving his mission reports and saying, hey, by the way, friends,
is what's
a lot of
going on.
Gentiles are
Yeah.
accepting the faith and they're receiving the Holy Spirit and they're not circumcised. What do we do here? I think that we shouldn't recircumcise people because, God is not waiting for them to be circumcised to receive the gift of salvation.
So why
Do we need
should-
to
why
impose
should
that
we?
on them?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're trying to think of the New Testament authors, there's not a huge number to choose from.
No, not at all.
The other options maybe
Matthew.
Luke, Matthew,
Mark.
Mark was probably written by Peter anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark. And that's there's not. I don't
And they
think
they might as well have been
Jude.
there.
Who wrote Jude?
Judah,
Yeah.
Judas,
Yeah.
and who else? Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of authors. All right, thank you so much, producer Sandy. We are going to have some music now. We're going to have the news, and after that, we're going to come up. Daniel's going to be talking to us about something that I think will be quite interesting. He's going to be talking about the blessing of microfinance. It's a topic that I'm very interested on.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.